people, welcome back to Finding with Jessie, the life coach. So today we are going to be talking about how to heal yourself from codependency. So first things first, in any situation or anything you are trying to release yourself from or change, you need to be able to recognize, and admit there is a problem. So if you have recognized and admitted to yourself that you are codependent and you're ready to heal yourself, you need to be able to clearly recognize what type of patterns you have, what is your behaviors, and how to start changing them, right? That's going to be number one. So with codependency, and of course any issue that you might have, you need to get to the root of it. If you don't take the roots out of anything that is not growing properly, it is going to grow again and resurface. So you need to be able to get to the root of the problem. So you need to be able to look at yourself and be super honest with yourself and say, how has this developed within my life? So you need to be able to take a good look, take rose color glasses off if you have them on, and start examining your life and start looking back to your childhood. You know, how were you raised? The people who raised you, you know, do you have abusive dynamics within your upbringing? You know, were you cared by people who were not emotionally available or didn't show you a lot of love or a lot of nurturing or a lot of, people have different love languages. Not everybody super like loves to hug and, not, they don't really feel that closeness. So, you got to examine like little things like that. Go back into your childhood, look at your upbringing, look at your cultural and traditional beliefs. How were you raised to believe? You always got to look at your belief systems and examine them from head to toe and see how have they been a contributing factor to your life and your perceptions and how you look at life as an adult. Disconnect from codependency dynamics and start establishing boundaries. If there are people around you that are extremely controlling or codependent themselves on you, your energy, or anything that you're supplying or giving to them, you're around a lot of takers, you need to start distancing yourself from them. You cannot heal in dynamics that cause upset to begin with. So you need to be able to detach yourself, let go, be able to put distance between you and these people. Put boundaries in place to protect yourself and to start protecting your well-being. Establishing boundaries is really hard for people who have never had to do it before, but not only do you need to establish the boundary, but you also need to be able to enforce it and put up those boundaries so people know where they stand with you. When people don't know when they stand with you, they're gonna get real comfortable with disrespecting you and trying to use you. So you need to be able to protect yourself. That's what boundaries are there for, so start establishing them. Start asserting yourself and letting your voice be known. If there are things that you do not like, behaviors that you do not appreciate, start speaking up. Okay, people are not mind readers, so you need to be able to communicate your needs and wants effectively. If people do things to you that you do not like, then let them know. Okay, so you have to be able to start asserting yourself. Don't be the person who's always saying yes to everything. If there's something that you do not want to do, start saying no. If there's people making demands on your time, your energy, your money, relying on you for their happiness, start saying no. Start saying, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. Start saying you need to do this for yourself. I'm not going to be responsible for you. I'm not responsible for your happiness. I'm only responsible for my happiness. I'm only responsible for this. I'm only responsible for that. Start asserting yourself and get real comfortable with making these rules and standards known. Start meeting and establishing your own needs and wants. A lot of people who are codependent have a hard time knowing what they want and have a hard time speaking up or acknowledging that they even have needs and wants. So you need to be able to identify that. And the way to identify that is to get real comfortable with self. Start really thinking about your own needs, your own wants. You might have been one of those people who pushed it aside for so long, You're always the person to make others feel comfortable. You're always the person to nurture others. You're always the person to make people, come before you. So now it's time for you to start thinking about you and start thinking about your needs and your wants and what's going to make you happy, right? So start establishing that. Start learning to self-soothe. A lot of people who are codependent, once again, want to either ignore or pretend like they don't have feelings or wants because they're too busy, focused on making other people happy and making their other partners happy, putting their needs and wants in front of theirs. So a lot of the times they push down their feelings, and this happens a lot with men because, men are supposed to be the strong one, and society says that, men don't cry and men don't feel things like women, and, so on and so forth. So a lot of men who are codependent usually put their needs and wants and they, their feelings, and they want to push them down, and they don't want to feel their feelings. So you don't want to do that. You want to be able to feel your feelings. When a feeling comes up or an emotion comes up, feel it, embrace it, and ask, why am I feeling this way? Am I feeling this way because I didn't get a certain, need or want met? You got to really start taking time to examine those feelings, start taking time to examine those emotions and figure out what they mean and how do I soothe them? How do I make myself feel better without putting, that responsibility onto another person or onto another object? Like, you want to stop looking for validation and stop looking for attention and other people to make you feel better. You have to start doing that for yourself. And the way to do that is to self-soothe. You have to be able to self-soothe yourself. If something goes wrong in your life or there's something not panning out how you want it, how do you make yourself feel better without putting that responsibility onto another person? Develop your own independence. A lot of people who are codependent are codependent. They're codependent on other people, like I said, for their happiness. They're codependent financially on sometimes on other people. They're codependent on people emotionally. They're looking for another to fill the emotional, psychological, and financial needs. So you need to be able to do that for yourself. In order for you to be a healthy, independent person, you have to be able to do that for yourself. So start establishing independence. Start going out there and doing things for yourself. Start doing things that's going to make you happy. Start doing things that brings you emotional fulfillment. If you need to financially establish yourself, then start doing that. Start getting your own bank account. If you don't work, maybe go out there and seek a job. Find what fills you up and lights you up and makes you feel like you have a purpose outside of other individuals, people, places, and things. Find out what your soul truly needs to be fulfilled. When you start finding your independence, you're not going to be afraid to be alone. So independent people are not afraid to be alone. They're not afraid to walk alone. They're not afraid to be the only person believing in something that others don't believe in. Independent people, that's what they are. They're very strong will. So start looking to develop that for yourself. A lot of codependent people don't have that established for themselves. So they're always looking, to others to, guide them and, looking to others to, give them advice and tell them what's good for them. The only person that could tell you what's good for yourself and what's going to make you happy is going to be you. Nobody is going to be able to do that for you. So in order for you to do that, you need to get real grounded in your independence. So start going out there and learning how to be alone with self. Be okay with being, with self. Be okay with truly, being independent, Be okay with living alone, eating alone. Be okay with walking out alone, shopping alone. Be okay. Once you start seeing that it's not that scary, you're going to start embracing it and being like, wow, it's like a whole new world and you really don't need anyone. But not needing anyone doesn't mean that you're not going to want anyone. Everybody wants someone that's going to come into their life and be able to share their life with. So, needing does not necessarily mean, you're going to have this chip on your shoulder like, oh, I don't need anyone, or I don't need a man, or I don't need a woman. No, needing a person just means that you are completely and 100% fulfilled within yourself. And when you get to that point that you're established and feel healthy, then you're able to attract other healthy partnerships. Focus on yourself and let people fix and heal their own selves, problems, circumstances, and issues. This is a big one. A big underlying issue with codependency and people who are codependent is they want to fix and heal and make other people see the light. And I can attribute to this because I used to be extremely codependent, and I have that energy. I have a healing energy. I have a very high vibe energy, and what that does is attract a lot of broken people. And since I'm naturally a caring person, I am an empath. I'm very empathetic, and I feel people's feelings deep down to the core. And I'm also naturally a giver, so I want to give. I like to give. It makes me feel good. I feel like I'm making a difference. So I have had a problem in the past of being the fixer, like trying to make people see their ways, trying to make people see themselves. I had to learn the hard way of not focusing on other people. I will help those who want to be helped, right? The first one-on-one on anybody making changes for themselves is they have to want to do it for themselves. If they don't do it for themselves, they're always going to pedal back to that lifestyle or to their habits and patterns that kept them trapped. So when you are codependent, you have to be able to not focus on others and only focus on yourself. Focus on your own healing. Focus on your own journey. Focus on your own independence. Focus on fixing and healing yourself and making yourself the best version you are meant to be, and let others focus on themselves. When they have a problem and they come to you, give them advice on how to fix it for themselves. Do not fix it for them. Do not be the fixer. Okay, guys? You have to learn, no matter who it is and how much you love them and care for them, to let them be able to stand on their own 2 feet. You will learn a lot of the times after you give a certain advice or after you give a certain guidance, but it requires them to do the work for themselves. They will not do it. Why? Because they're looking for you to fix it, and you are looking to fix it because that gives you a sense of fulfillment. So you have to be able to detach from that feeling and let people stand on their own 2 feet. Let people figure it out on their own. And if they don't want to figure it out on their own, you have to be okay with that. Some people are addicted and they are okay with living in fear, living in guilt, and living in that low vibrational energy. What they're seeking is attention. What they're seeking is just someone to listen to their problems over and over and over and over and over. And at the same token, it becomes very draining for you. So you have to be able to focus on yourself. Let people focus on themselves. Let people, choose their own journeys. Let people make their own choices, and let people live with their choices after they have been made. You have to be okay with letting people go. Not everybody is meant to stay with you on your journey and on your path. When you are codependent, you're going to be attracting other people who are codependent or who are broken or narcissistic. So you have to be able to acknowledge and be honest with yourself if these people are not good for you, if they're using you in some type of way, if they're being opportunistic towards you, if they're draining you, whatever the situation is that is not healthy and happy for you, whatever's not bringing you emotional fulfillment, and you're going around in a wheel going round and round, a hamster wheel, you're going round and round and round and round in circles, and you feel you can't get off, you have to be able to jump. You have to be able to leap and say, you know what, I am leaving this behind. No matter how much you care for that person, no matter how much you love that person, if a person is not good for you, the first step to healing codependency is to be able to walk away and let it go. Once you let go of an expectation, you usually let in what is good for you. So when you're trying to heal yourself, you have to be able to take yourself out of unhealthy dynamics and people who are unhealthy and not willing to go along with you on your journey. So there's some people that might be unhealthy as well, but saying, wow, I recognize what you're saying. I get it. And you know what? I'm realizing these patterns that we have within our dynamic or our relationship, and I'm also looking to change. If they want to change with you, then hey, great, welcome them along. And you know what? But focus on your own journey. Let them heal themselves. You heal yourselves. And then when you are healthy, you could come back together. But if the case is that the other person is not willing to accept that there is a problem or change their behavior, then you have to be healthy enough and focus on your own development and your own improvement that you have to let them go and let them go. So codependency usually leads to isolation. It usually leads to a loss of sense of identity in self. And because of that, you start detaching from family and friends, especially if you are in a dynamic that the other person was super controlling and, they wanted you all to themselves. So there are some people who will come into your life and realize that other people are not good for you and might point that out to you. So you have to be able to be discerning whether someone is doing it for their own, self, or they're doing it because, they see, other patterns and behaviors that you might not see and say, hey, you might want to check that relationship because it's probably not the best for you. So it depends, and you have to be able to be discerning about that. But if a person did come into your life and they try to control you and they try to control other people having access to you, they most likely led you down the path to isolation and you not being, a part of your family dynamics and your friends dynamics. So one of the best ways to heal back from that codependency, unhealthy dynamic, is to get back into alignment with people, places, and things that you left behind, that you have sacrificed for some other individual. So get back into hanging out with friends, get back into, nurturing your family members, letting them back in, having loving relationships with these people, and get back to exploring what you used to love to do for self. Find your identity. That is the main way to come out of codependency, is finding yourself. So guys, those are my tips on how to heal and how to get back to self. If you are codependent, or if you're noticing codependent patterns and behaviors within yourself that you're not liking, and you want to say, hey, I want to heal myself and get back to the best version I am meant to be. You have to understand, and you have to be gentle with yourself if you have noticed that you have codependency issues, or you have codependency patterns and behaviors within self. It takes a very strong, and self-aware person to start analyzing their own selves and their own behaviors and patterns, and being honest with themselves. A lot of people are not honest with ourselves because it is more comfortable to stay in that space that we always been in. Self-development requires a lot of strength, It requires a lot of I am willing to take this next step. You do not get down on yourself when you start realizing that there's something within you that is unhealed, or that you do not like, or that you've been adding to dynamics within your life, First things first is you need to start congratulating yourself. Congratulate yourself for being able to be self-aware. Everybody is not able to be honest with themselves. It takes a very strong and self-aware person to come to that point of not only seeing it, but also wanting to take action and start making changes within their life, within their patterns, within the people they are letting within their circle. So if you're struggling with codependency, I am a life coach that specializes in helping women find their identity, their grounding, and themselves. And you can look into my services. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.